Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the SHRA meeting for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. Madam Clerk, will you please read the roll?
Chair Duncan?
Here.
Vice Chair Nunley?
Here.
Commissioner Manford?
Here.
Commissioner Jansen? Not here. Commissioner Jefferson?
Here.
Commissioner Ramos is not here. Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Starks is absent, and Commissioner Wu.
Thank you. All right, we have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda today?
There are not.
Okay, so we'll move on to the public comment section of the agenda. Would you please read the public comment script?
Persons wishing to address the commission on subjects not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the commission, may do so at this time. The commission cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting. To speak on an agenda item, please fill out a speaker card and give it to the clerk. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. We have one public speaker.
Okay.
Keisha Barthel.
Good afternoon. I'm Keisha Barthel, and I just wanted to give an update to when I was here last time on the 18th of September regarding the recertification for my HCV voucher. I did speak with Mary Liz, and she was able to connect me to the director, or maybe the supervisor, Tanya Cruz. I did have to reach out 2 extra times since that meeting to have someone call me back via email. I did reach out via email as well as phone call, but I did get a call back yesterday from Tanya Cruz, and we did schedule an appointment for me to correct some of my concerns that I had addressed on the 18th. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. If there's no other public comment, we will move to a public comment follow-up report by staff.
Mary Liz is going to give the follow-up.
Good evening, commissioners. So last meeting when we presented, we had some folks who came before our public hearing to talk about their experiences with the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of background and a little bit of response towards that. So we have met with both of the families, and there was a question, and you'll see actually when we get into the public hearing results from our admin plan, we will be talking about one of the comments about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. One of our residents was asking about participating in the program more than one time. The Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a 5-year program, and so people sign up and they make changes or identify what changes they want to make so they can work towards self-sufficiency. We have 13,000 vouchers, and our program size is relatively small. It's less than 100 families that can participate. And so we have a policy, and it's written in our plan, that we will allow families to participate one time, so that we have a wait list so that other families have an opportunity to participate as well. So I wanted to give you that feedback. There was another question about adding foster children to the household, that should not require a landlord to give approval. It should be treated the same as getting custody or adding a family member to the household through birth or marriage. And in fact, you'll see in our admin plan that we did make that change. So, and that was really, it was we didn't realize that was an issue until it was brought to us. So it made sense. So we made that change. There was a question about the annual recertification, and the recertification is done timely. And there was some confusion on the way that the information shows in the resident portal. It was a mistake in that case. It showed that the next recertification was due this year. It was just, it was human error. It should have shown next year, but the recertification was done. The landlord had accepted it. We spoke with the landlord. Everything is fine. So there was not a problem there. That was all resolved. And if there are any questions or concerns from the family about any changes that they report or anything that we do that has a negative impact on the family, they can always request an informal hearing. And so there is a formal process where they can bring a grievance to our attention and we will work through. And of course, before we get to that point, then we work with them through staff and so on to work it out. But if all of that fails, there is a formal process for families to bring it to an objective third-party hearing officer that is not an employee of the agency. So the issues that were brought before you have been resolved. We've been in continued conversation. I'm sorry I came in a little bit late, but I heard the last comment was that she had been working with one of the supervisors. And so the issues, as I said, have been addressed and resolved. So I don't know if there are any follow-ups, but.
On number 2, there was,
Uh-huh.
Mike, I thought you said Michael, I'm sorry. Did you just talk about number 2? Because I know there was someone that came and commented, did you?
Okay, I'm not addressing the letter that was just passed out, I'm just addressing before the meeting started last time,
okay.
2 weeks ago, some folks got up and talked about their experience with the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and I'm responding to that at this point. The commission had asked that the issues that were raised be agendized to be talked about at this meeting, and that's why I'm here today. But the letter is addressing the public hearing and the comments that came out at that public hearing, specifically addressing the admin plan, and we will be talking about that a little bit later in the agenda.
Okay, so just a clarification, the ones, there was a person, that said she was a citizen? Is that that's covered in here? Or is that somewhere else, or did you because that was another comment that was here that we have particular interest in.
So it's a little bit confusing because unfortunately I don't know, fortunate or unfortunate, we had a public comment period and we had 2 women who spoke about their challenges with the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Then, and that was in the public comment period before the meeting started.
Yeah.
Then we went through the meeting and we had a public hearing. And one of those 2 women came back and talked about some comments related to the admin plan.
Yes.
So the comments related to the admin plan, we'll talk about in a little bit, that's on the agenda.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just addressing the public comments that were made during that section.
Thank you, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a little bit of overlap and you'll see that in the letter, but yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
All right. We will move on to the consent items on the agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please read the consent item wording?
All matters listed on consent are to be approved by one motion unless a commissioner or the public requests that separate action is taken on a specific item.
Can I get a motion from my commissioner to approve the consent items?
So moved. Second.
All right, moved by Commissioner Vice Chair Nunley, seconded by Commissioner Jansen. If there are no objections, we'll pass the motion to approve the consent items. Hearing no objections, the motion passes. We'll now move on to the discussion items. Will you please read item number 2, please?
Authorization to dispose of property at 1224 B Street and to enter into a seller carryback loan in the amount of $310,000 with Salvation Army.
And we have a presentation from staff.
Good afternoon, members of the Commission. Chair, my name is Vicki Smith. I'm Management Analyst here at SHRA. And this report requests authority to sell a city housing authority owned property at 1400 North East Street to the Salvation Army. Excuse me. The Housing Authority of the city has owned this property since June of 1989, and it was originally purchased as part of a proposed social services complex that was envisioned in the area at that time. The Housing Authority has been leasing the property to the Salvation Army since that time for the operations of a women's shelter. Salvation Army owns the building and parcel adjacent to this building at 1200 North B, and that is utilized as a men's shelter. The two buildings are operated together as what Salvation Army described on their website as the Center of Hope, and provides 140 shelter beds nightly. So there has been no need for the Housing Authority and no other foreseeable use by the Housing Authority for this property. So staff is recommending at this time selling the property to Salvation Army to allow for the continued use of the property as a shelter. As required, the property will be sold at fair market value, and staff is proposing to execute a 30-year loan agreement with the Salvation Army for the purchase. The current fair market value is $310,000, and it's proposed that loan payments be made annually, and there will be 0% interest on this loan. The agreement will require that the Salvation Army continue to use the property as a shelter, and staff has also confirmed that Salvation Army has adequate resources to continue the operation. So once approved by this body and by the City Housing Authority Board, we'll move forward with the process with the goal of transferring the property by the end of the year. That concludes my presentation, and we're available, and also Ray from Salvation Army is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Jensen?
Is it typical to do a zero interest loan in this type of environment?
I would say yes. Defer to Christine.
Yeah, Christine Wyford from the Development Department. Yes, for a nonprofit like Salvation Army, yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes, my comments are, I think it's a solid move to move forward with the sell. In my past work, I actually ran that shelter and program, and it is extremely valuable for the community with respect to repairs and so forth. I wish the Salvation Army luck, because it was also nice to have SHRA work on those repairs, but now it's all on you, Major Ray there, and others. But nonetheless, it is something incredible. It's a great resource. There's a culinary arts training program that takes place there. I don't know if that's still continuing. That's a program that I helped start. I also think there is some adjacent property next door to that that maybe like a brownfield type of situation. I would also recommend that be cleaned up. I know the Salvation Army has been working on that. There used to be some sort of auto something taking place there, and there's some ground contamination. Not extremely deep, but it's about maybe that deep. But if that were to be leveled and remediated and turned into a parking lot, given that we have the housing shortages and service delivery shortages, I think that would also be an extremely prudent move to serve our citizens in the community. So hats off to SHRA for that decision, and also to the Salvation Army for taking on the building. Thank you so much.
And we've been looking into that as well, and I think that you're exactly right. That was the delay was the toxics at the site, and I think some staff, our environmental coordinator, is going to be working on a grant application in October, and hopefully get some funds to do a cleanup. At least, probably won't be to residential standards, but at least we can do a parking lot.
Right, exactly. That's outstanding. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so are there any public comments on this item?
There is not.
So can I get a motion from the commissioners to approve the report?
Motion.
Second.
Approved by,
Really fast, don't
approved by Commissioner
One
Ray.
wants a piece of that.
No, I made my comments, that's fine.
Moved by Commissioner Manfor and seconded by Commissioner Jefferson. If there are no objections, we will pass the motion to approve the report. Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 3. Would you please read the title of that?
Approval of the 2025 Annual Public Housing Plan for the Housing Authority of the City of Sacramento and the Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento, submission of the 2025 Public Housing Agency Annual Plan 2025 Public Housing 5-Year Plan, Admissions and Continued Occupancy Policy, and the Administrative Plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Presentation from staff.
Good afternoon, Chair Duncan and members of the commission. My name is Renee Vigorni. I'm a program integrity analyst for the Housing Authority. On September 18, 2024, during the public hearing, my colleague Maria Abdalis and I presented the proposed significant changes to the 2025 Public Housing Agency Plan. The plan includes the annual plan, the Public Housing 5-Year Plan, the Admissions and Continued Occupancy Policy, and the Administrative Plan. The agency received a public comment letter from Legal Services of Northern California. Commissioners have received a copy of that letter and the agency's responses. We are asking for your approval of the resolution for the 2025 Public Housing Agency Plan. And I'll let Maria speak on that. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Duncan and members of the Commission. My name is Maria Ballas, and I have the pleasure of working as a Program Integrity Analyst for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. At the Commission meeting on September 18th, the Housing Authority of the City of Sacramento and the Housing Authority of the County of Sacramento conducted the public hearing and closed the public comment period. There are a few changes that Legal Services of California proposed in their submitted comment letter on that night and were agreed upon by the Housing Authority. A copy of the full response letter has been provided to the commissioners. Some of these changes that were approved was a change in Chapter 10 to still conduct mandatory tenant conferences for a missed inspection appointment instead of proposing termination first. This was agreed upon. Change in Chapter 28, Violence Against Women Act, to update the definition of domestic violence and also include economic abuse and technological abuse as types of domestic violence. Sorry, tongue-tied a little bit. The Housing Authority also agreed to be updating all letters and applications to expand language access information for limited English-speaking persons. At the hearing, public comments were received verbally for the 2025 Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. These are the paraphrased public comments and the PHA responses. A public comment addressed Chapter 5, Subsidy Standards, and recommended we change the section with exception of additions of newborn children to include children to the family that are court-awarded custody and adoption to not need the prior approval of the landlord. This is very similar to the Legal Services request that was requested in Chapter 12, and we agreed to this change. There was also a public comment addressing families participating in the Housing Choice Voucher who engage in threatening, abusive, and violent behavior towards Housing Authority personnel. The requested change is asking the Housing Authority to take stronger measures to protect staff from having continued interactions with the family who's known to threaten staff while the investigation and termination is being underway in process, and to deny moves or voucher issuances until the investigation has been concluded or a termination decision has been made. The PHA considered this request and is agreeing to making the following change into Chapter 13, Moves with Continued Assistance. The PHA will deny permission to move with continued assistance if the family has engaged in or threatened abusive or violent behavior towards PHA personnel, which is also now in line with current federal regulation. The public comment was requested also in Chapter 10 in Housing Quality Standard Inspections to add a clarification. Is a missed or inconclusive annual inspection considered to be a family-caused failed inspection? The PHA did consider this request, and we are making the change to Chapter 10 that a missed or inconclusive inspection is considered to be a family-caused failed inspection in this chapter. So we have clarified that comment. The fourth public comment received requested the change in the language in Addendum 1 to the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which Mary Liz also mentioned earlier, allowing graduates of the Family Self-Sufficiency Program the opportunity to re-enroll into the program. Our current verbiage in Addendum 22 says successful graduates of the FSS program, Family Self-Sufficiency, cannot reapply and join the Family Self-Sufficiency Program a second time. We considered this request and are not willing to make a change at this time because of the limited amount of spots in this program number of HCD program participants that can volunteer to be part of this program. So there is currently a pending waiting list, and the PHA is committed to providing this opportunity to as many families as possible. So we will not allow one family to have opportunity to participate multiple times. The Housing Authority appreciates Legal Services of Northern California's recommendations to the admissions and continued occupancy policies and to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, and the public comments that were also received. We've made an incredible amount of progress over the years updating these documents to better serve our families. The PHA requests approval to the resolution for the 2025 annual plan for the Housing Authority and the City and County of Sacramento, to the Public Housing Agency annual plan, admissions and continued occupancy, and administrative plan. Renee and I are both here and available for any further questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maureen. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Manford.
Yes, thank you. I think in looking at, I believe, number 2 of the public comment section, the red highlight where you stated that if the family has engaged in or threatened abusive or violent behavior towards PHA personnel, would that be something that would include like a documented police report or something? Because it just seems it's really broad when you speak of engage or threaten abusive or violent behavior. So I think I'm just asking, would there be an opportunity for you to have something a little bit more concrete so that it doesn't seem just broad?
So,
Sorry,
I apologize.
No, you go ahead, no.
The broad discretion in the verbiage was actually part of the Code of Federal Regulations, so we have copied it verbatim from the regulations. We do document interactions that are in our, with, whether it's verbally or in person, every interaction is documented in our lobby or over the phone, so that we do keep track when there is ever a threat made. But in this situation, the request was if there's an investigation and termination underway, and so that we would deny a move if we're moving towards that. It's to the point where it is documented. There may be a restraining order or some further action that's gotten us to this point.
Right. Just to follow up, Maria is correct in terms of, what is outlined in the federal regulations, but we really have a zero tolerance policy when we have participants who make threats of violence to our staff, as well as even sometimes their families as well. And so in order to make sure that we maintain a safe working environment, we really do take pretty swift action, and we work in concert with law enforcement in certain situations. Sometimes we have had to get restraining orders or stay away orders or things of that nature. And we have seen, unfortunately, that there has been an increase in this, and that's why it's so important for us to be very, very clear as to where we stand when it comes to someone who is threatening our staff.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes, no, I absolutely, did you want to have?
Yeah, I have a second question, but you can take it.
Okay. No, go ahead, let me let you, I'll yield to you first, and then I'll bring mine up.
No problem. I guess the second one is for number 3, where you stated will loan be granted if there are extenuating circumstances. I understand that's a case-by-case circumstance, but I think it'd be important to include something that says, reasonable, because as I've said before, I'm just reviewing it. It just seems a bit very broad, but I also want it to be qualitative in regards to the participants themselves. So I think reasonable circumstances should also be included in that sentence, but I'm not sure if that's word from another document.
So in number 3, the request was to clarify when a family misses an annual inspection, so we send notices giving a 30-day notice to them that we're coming out on such and such date for this inspection. We also notify the owner.
Correct.
When they don't attend or call ahead of time, 1, we're charged by our inspection company, but 2, we have to reschedule because we're under a strict timeline that we have to inspect all units within 24 months of the last inspection. So when families just don't don't call or are not there for their appointments, we understand by all means, there's lots of different situations, but we consider mitigating circumstances. So we'll reschedule. And so the request was to clarify, if someone misses an inspection, is that considered a fail? And we don't want to allow people to move in the situations where they may be still responsible for unit damage or things that are their responsibility. So we're clarifying that a missed inspection is considered a fail until we have a pass.
Okay. I think that clears it up a little bit more, because in regards to the rescheduling part, where it said, due to extenuating circumstances, I thought that, if you included reasonable, but I think extenuating can also supplement the term reasonable circumstances, but you just explained it perfectly. Thank you.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, and I just want to add that I worked with staff on this, and the clarification is also as a result of what HUD considers the missed appointment. They consider it a fail in their systems, in their reporting systems.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ross.
Yes, thank you. So my questions have to do with number 3 and 2, but I'll start with 3 and then move up to 2. So I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification. So I understand why we wouldn't let them move. What's the notification? I mean, for instance, what are the processes of notifying them that their inspection is going to take place on a date? I mean, what if they have jobs? What if they have other kinds of stuff? How do you mitigate that? And then let's say maybe due to stresses and other kinds of things happening in their life, they're like, oh, I'm not aware. So what's the repeat? Do we say, hey, yeah, I'm just curious what the process is to lead up to that date, because some people just aren't aware.
So we do send out a letter to not only the participant, but also to the owner. So it is the responsibility of both parties to allow access, so the owner can serve formal notice of the inspection date to grant access to the unit. So the ultimate goal is that we pass housing quality standards and we make sure that the unit they're living in is safe. So if for some reason someone didn't open their mail and they missed their inspection, then what the new process will be is that we will call and have a mandatory tenant conference with them. Why weren't you available? Can we reschedule right now by phone or for a different date, in order to make sure that we are sending inspectors out to a unit that can be inspected. So that is currently now what will be our process, that we will reschedule the inspection
If they
miss the
If
first
they
one.
miss, they will have a chance to reschedule, so they're not considered like a failed, or they have a second, okay, that's what so they get a second chance.
They get a second chance. And so if the second one fails, then we'll re-inspect in order to make sure that, we'll give them the 30 days to fix the items in the unit, and we'll go back out again, and they know that we're coming out within the 30 days. They're told that day.
Okay, that was part of the process that I was trying to understand. So they're notified if for some reason, and the landlord or property owner could come in, and they also have the responsibility. If for some reason that's missed, they're given a second chance, but then, all right, that's good, okay. And it wasn't really clear that there was a second chance, because people got a lot of stuff going on. So I'm sure once they miss one, they'll be highly aware and alerted. The second one goes back to number 2. I completely agree with this statement here, and zero tolerance on threats and so forth. What I with Commissioner Manfor, I just wanted to know how, as far as what would be considered. I'm thinking of it from another perspective a little bit. What is considered threatening and abusive, violent behavior? Is that defined? And are they aware of what that is? Because I'll just stop at that question. I want to know whether they actually know what that is, because I'm going to tell you from what I see as a African American and so forth, and other kind of biases and so forth. Hey, I don't like your attitude. I don't like this. I don't like that. Well, I'm the person that has the paper. And I'm saying, I didn't like how you said it, or maybe they, you know, had a swear word or something like that, I don't know. Well, I consider that threatening and abusive behavior and such and such. What's the criteria?
Well, maybe I could just jump right in. If someone is, doesn't like our tone or doesn't like, that's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about people who either physically, and we've had that situation where there's a physical altercation, and we also had situations where they threaten to kill the staff or their family members.
Yeah.
So we're talking very serious, violent type of behavior that is going on, that we have a zero tolerance. This is not, you know, I'm just upset and, you know, this is not fair and things like that. No, we're talking about very serious threats that are made to our staff.
Okay, so my question, if it's not defined what it is, I'm just erring on, I'm old school, my family's from the South, other kinds of things, I've seen other stuff. I understand what you're saying, I completely agree. So would the tenant have an opportunity to file some sort of grievance or something to say, this is what I said, and it's not defined as what you're saying, threats or so forth, and then they would be able to contest that, because I think that would be important. If it's not defined what violent and abusive behavior is, it seems wide and broad. I think you know, there needs to be some recordation of what was said, how it was said, and so that it could be verified. Otherwise, I think it could be you know, a misuse of power and authority, which has taken place with different communities. Not to say here, but I know historically that has happened.
So I can also speak that when we do have, so the verbiage here is part of what's called the family obligations. Family members, every adult always signs every year that they agree to these rules. And when we do propose termination, the family has hearing rights, so they can respond and say, no, this isn't what happened. They go in front of a hearing officer and present their case, the housing authority presents their case, and then an outcome is decided. So it's not that once we've said it, that's what it is. There is a due process. What this ultimate goal though is to limit the interaction with the staff during this time. If we have someone who's made violent threats to kill, to attack, things that have, you know, been said, or even sometimes, you know, a weapon may be brought in or something like that. We don't want to continue this person to interact with the staff, to have them come to a voucher appointment or have them come in a group or things like that. So while we're pursuing termination and they have their hearing rights, we just, at that time, a move is optional, it's discretionary within the rules that we can deny based on the Code of Federal Regulations, so we're going to limit the interaction at that time.
I have one other question that I think might actually clarify some of whatever my concerns are. Do they receive like a resident handbook, code of conduct, where because you can't really fit all what we're talking about here. Do they receive something like that which says here are violations of behavior?
Every annual recertification, we have 2 pages that they sign and certify that they've read through. They're the family obligations that are required to be on the program, and this is one that's listed. So every single year that a family recertifies, there are the 2 pages that they sign, that they understand and have read the rules of the program, and they keep a copy. We leave a copy with them every year for their own records, and one that goes to the housing authority.
Yeah, but what I guess I'm getting at, and I'll leave it at this, but you know, just to note, so when I have my employee handbook at work, you all have one too, it clearly delineates what are violations and what are concerns. I'm asking, does that take place for the resident? It will help them, in my opinion, by having things clearly delineated. It will help them curb their behavior. So hopefully it doesn't come to a crisis like this. I'm just curious to see, is that there? Because, you know, some people, when they're old school, I'm not defending them, trust me, I know the threats, but so, you know, some people, you know, they come from the streets and other kinds of stuff, and I think when we talk about intervention and prevention methods, I like to be clearly stating, like on the basketball court or other places, here's the rules. Should you violate them, these will be the consequences. We hope you don't violate them. I'm curious to see, just like in our employee handbooks and in your employee handbooks, how clearly is that delineated for them so that they can hopefully avoid problems?
Okay, I was gonna say, just like, we're with housing choice vouchers, so they're not our residents. So that's why we give,
They're not ours?
well, they're not housing choice voucher residents.
Okay.
They get their choice to go to any unit in Sacramento County or, so they're not, the actual residents. So that's why for us, we give them the rules of the program, when they come in through intake, they sign in their application, when they do their briefing and they're first given their voucher, they're given again the rules. And it's 2 pages, and then recertification every year to continue being on the program, they sign the 2 pages of the rules again.
I get what you're saying, because it's not their property, like if they were, okay, all right. Wait a minute, I just wanted to just bring up those thoughts, I don't know whether they're valid or not, but.
And I just wanted to make one clarification.
Yeah.
So the admin plan, the administration plan that is being brought to you today for approval, that is the rule handbook that you're referring to, that you're asking about. So they do have, that is given to them, that's where these changes are being incorporated into this large administrative plan that's over, I don't know, 100 something pages long. It's very detailed. I am almost positive that there is a definition of what threatening and abusive behavior is. Because one, I just seem to recall working on that definition a couple of times. I don't have the plan in front of me, so I can't confirm that for sure. But 2, if there wasn't a definition, I'm 100% sure Liznick would have asked us to clarify what those terms mean. So we can get back to you on that. We can send you the actual admin plan and the page where it's located with the definition, but it's not an arbitrary determination on what may or may not be abusive or threatening behavior.
Well, I'll pause on that. I mean, it's just, my comments from my perspective. But I'm saying, just from protocols that I've seen, if I read that, then I would say that is, well, it has some, I don't know how that's defined, and I think that there's some room for concern. I would recommend that would be clearly delineated as in most handbooks, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have Nikisha Barthel again.
Hi again. When it comes to the administrative plan, if there could be clarification on the recertification packet and when the housing staff has to have it complete by. In the handbook or the administrative plan, it talks about every year it will be completed. But as I mentioned last time I was here, usually I have it done by August 1st, and now we're in October and I haven't had it completed yet. And so if I wanted to move, I can't move. If I want to do anything, I'm not able to. I'm stuck until I hear from housing on that. So I was just wondering if that could be in there as completion date. So that frees up me where I'm able to move if I plan all summer to move once I receive that document. Another thing regarding the administrative plan, and I seen the changes that was updated regarding the foster children, is that it mentions court-awarded children, but that does not, that's not the same as a foster child being placed in your home on a placement. When I think of court awarded, I'm thinking of a family who's maybe having some family disputes between mom and dad gets awarded custody, or mom gets awarded custody, versus someone in my situation where I have 3 children in foster care in my home, and they were placed in my home by court order. And so it wasn't an award, it was just a placement for their safety. I also seen the notes regarding the self-sufficiency program, and as I mentioned, I did graduate. I graduated during COVID, so it was a very difficult time for me to find a house to move into. One of my goals was to purchase a home for my family at that time, and I wanted to use that money to do that because I did work and I did accrue about $18,000, which was the most money I had ever had at one time in my life. And so I wanted to buy a house, but because it was COVID, I wasn't able to do anything. I had lost my job just like during that time too, and so things just got a little shaky. And at that time, in the administrative plan, it was, and I was told when I signed up for the self-sufficiency program that I can reapply once I graduate. That was an option. But then as of like just this year, I was reading the administrative plan and it's noted in there that you can only do it one time. So that wasn't told to me. I've been on the waiting list since that date I graduated because I really didn't want to graduate. I was trying to let them know, hey, my life has changed now, even though I've been here for 5 years. COVID happened, all this stuff happened. I can't purchase a home. I don't know if I want to purchase a home. I don't know what's going on. And so I was on the waiting list. I just found out I'm not on the waiting list about 2 months ago. So
Thank you for your comments.
thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
There is none.
Okay. Can I ask for a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion.
Moved by Commissioner Manford, seconded by Commissioner Wu. If there are no objections, we will pass the motion to adopt the resolution. Hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously. So now we'll move on to public hearings.
Can I just clarify a question real quick?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
What, is for the executive director, what happens next with this? Does it go, can you just give us a timeline for the plan?
So the plan is then submitted to HUD. I think we have until, is it November 1st?
October 18th.
October 18th, oops, sorry. October 18th, so we submit it to HUD, they will review it, and then they will let us know whether it is finalized and approved.
Does city council or board of supervisors get any
This
engagement?
particular one actually does stop at the commission. The commission has authority over the administrative plan and the
So it didn't specifically go before those other two?
No.
It had no cause to.
Yes,
Yeah.
because this is the body that is, that they've delegated that authority to.
Got it. Thank you.
So item number 4.
2025 approval of the 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan for the city of Sacramento and the county of Sacramento. Approve and authorize submission to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, the 2025 one-year action plan for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnerships Program, Emergency Solutions Grant, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, funded projects and programs, amendment of prior year's action plans, amendment of the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency budget, and execute documents for the administration of federal programs.
We have a presentation from staff.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Green. I'm the Program Manager for Federal Program at SHRA. SHRA administers HUD formula program grants on behalf of the city and county of Sacramento. And today we're asking you to approve the 5-year consolidated plan and the 2025 annual action plan for those funds. Today's presentation will also be held as a public hearing, allowing for a final opportunity for public comment on the consolidated plan and the action plans. I'll go ahead and get started. The consolidated plan we're asking you to approve covers the years 2025 through 2029, so it's a 5-year plan. It identifies the goals which will guide our 1-year action plans over the next 5 years for federal programs. The 2025 action plan identifies the specific activities that will be undertaken over the next year with our federal entitlement grants to meet objectives identified in that consolidated plan. The HUD formula grants administered by SHRA that are covered by the consolidated plan and the action plans include Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Home Investment Partnership Program, or the HOME program, Emergency Solutions Block Grant, or ESG, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, or HOPWA. The primary categories that CDBG can be used for include public facilities and infrastructure, housing, public services, grant planning and admin, and capital reserve. Home is primarily used for multifamily rehab and construction of affordable housing. ESG is used to assist persons at risk or experiencing homelessness, primarily through rapid rehousing and emergency shelters. And HOPWA is used to provide rental assistance and services for people with HIV or AIDS and their families. 2 weeks ago, on September 18th, our consultant, Group Policy, was here and presented a detailed overview of the consolidated plan process and outcomes. Since we had a pretty comprehensive overview very recently for the consolidated plan, I'll just do a quick recap. When developing the consolidated plan, HUD requires that grantees must first analyze the needs within its jurisdiction and then propose strategies to meet those needs. To analyze the community needs, here we go. So here we are at consolidated plan summary. So to analyze the community needs, first, information is gathered through a number of methods, including community engagement, a needs assessment, and a housing market analysis. The extensive community engagement component of this consolidated plan included stakeholder interviews, outreach to neighborhood associations, pop-up tabling at local community events, and a region-wide housing and community development needs survey. The needs assessment and market analysis outline levels of relative need in the areas of affordable housing, homelessness, special needs, and community development. This assessment of disproportionate needs is based on extensive analysis using data provided by HUD, the American Community Survey data, unhoused data provided by Sacramento Steps Forward, and incorporates content from the community engagement process. Once finished, the needs assessment portion of the consolidated plan is what forms the basics for the strategic plan goals. The strategic plan details how the grantee will address its priority needs, and the strategies must reflect current conditions of the market, expected availability of funds, and capacity to administer the plan. Finally, those goals identified in the strategic plan inform the annual action plans, projects. So the consolidated plan analysis culminates in this list of goals that will guide the use of funds over that next 5-year period. So again, we went over the consolidated plan goals pretty extensively just a couple of weeks ago, so I will just review these quickly. Goal 1, develop, preserve, and finance affordable housing, including home rehab and public wraparound services. Goal 2, revitalize low-income neighborhoods, eliminate blight, promote economic development with various infrastructure improvements, with a specific focus on highest need neighborhoods. Goal 3, provide community and support services to low and moderate income residents and improve navigation and outreach for access to those services. Goal 4, promote equal housing opportunities and coordinate with fair housing advocates to bolster landlord education outreach. Goal 5, contribute to the continuum of care system by providing emergency shelters, prevention, rapid rehousing, supportive services, and permanent housing. Goal 6, implement effective and efficient management practices to enhance customer service through coordination and collaboration between the city, county, SHRA, and service providers. Goal 7, identify effective workforce development, digital literacy, and financial counseling programs in affordable housing developments. Goal 8, continue to support disaster response and recovery activities in the event of local, state, or national responses. And Goal 9, which is specific to the city, is to continue to support the Marisol Village and Twin Rivers Transit-Oriented Development and Light Rail Station project. So that covered the consolidated plan. Now, before I turn focus to the 2025 action plan, I'll provide an update on some accomplishments that were achieved in 2024. So a few infrastructure public facility projects that were completed this year include in the city, O'Neill Field ADA compliant restroom, which was design and construction of a new ADA restroom. Torley Park Playground, which was design and construction to replace existing playground equipment. Northwood School access improvements, which included pedestrian improvements in the Northwood Elementary School community. Velma and Hawk Master Plan. This was designing construction documents for the park master plan. And in the county, we had Henley Park Walkway, which included construction of a new accessible walkway and accessible concrete ramp. We had the Rosemont Park baseball fence, which replaced existing outfield and baseball fences. And the Rosemont Park sports court, which reconstructed an existing tennis court into multi-sport court facility for basketball, pickleball, and tennis. For public services, we always provide a variety of safety net programs. This slide provides an estimate of the number of people and households that were served by these programs in 2024. The programs include meals to seniors through the Meals on Wheels program, homeless and housing assistance through rapid rehousing activities, home repair programs through SHRA's home repair program, as well as Rebuilding Together, and also providing operational funding for shelters. Now looking forward to 2025 for the annual action plan. The next few slides will go over the estimated entitlements for the various funding sources, the proposed CDBG allocations by category, and the proposed infrastructure projects to be funded with CDBG. Start in the city, and then we'll move to the county. This slide shows what we anticipate receiving from HUD for each funding source in the city, and this is an estimate based on previous year's allocations. Overall, we anticipate having about $10.2 million in funding in the city. I do want to note this includes entitlement funding as well as reprogrammed funds from previous years, as well as program income, which is income we received from past CDBG loans. This table shows an overview of the proposed 2025 CDBG allocations by category. The categories include infrastructure and public facility improvements, housing development and home ownership, which is allocated to multifamily rehab and home repairs for low to moderate income homeowners. Public services, so this is for Meals on Wheels and homeless activities. Grant planning and admin, which is staffing and fair housing programs. HUD loan repayment, and this is for repaying back the Section 108 loan for the Marisol Village project. And then we always include a line item for capital reserve in case of any project overages. In the city, the proposed infrastructure and public facility projects include Robla Community Park, which is design and engineering and construction for a future prefabricated restroom building. I'm sorry, that does not include construction, this is just design. Niños Park, this is to replace existing tot lot and adventure play structures and accessibility improvements. The Dos Rios site remediation, so this is to assist with the environmental remediation at the Marisol Village Triangle site for a future housing development. Argonaut Park, this is new accessible walkway improvements. Earl Warren Park, this is design and engineering for replacement of an existing restroom. And 24th Street Bypass Park, which is installing fitness equipment. Moving on to the county, these are the anticipated entitlement amounts for funding in the county. And again, these are based on previous year's entitlement amounts, and we expect a total of about $11.8 million in funding, again, including our entitlement, reprogrammed funds, and program income. This table shows the proposed 2025 CDB allocations by category in the county. The categories are the same as the city, except we include the agreement cities, which are non-entitlement cities within the urban county of Sacramento that we receive and administer entitlement funds for. And then we don't have the category for the Section 108 loan from Marisol Village. For the county, the proposed infrastructure projects are the Fruit Ridge Sidewalk Improvements Phase 2 for design, engineering, and construction of sidewalks, including ADA and pedestrian improvements. Old Florentown Park basketball court improvement. This is design, engineering, and installation of a new basketball court surface, new LED lighting, backboards and rims, trees, planter beds, and other park improvements. Stockton Boulevard Complete Streets, design, engineering, and installation of bicycle facilities on both sides of Stockton Boulevard, also including signalization and new striping along the corridor. And this project will be between Florin Road and Mack Road. Rudder Park baseball court improvement basketball is installation of a new basketball court and seating. 44th Street bicycle, pedestrian, and lighting improvements. This project will install street lighting and safety improvements on 44th Street at the pedestrian crossing over 99. North Watt Avenue pedestrian improvements is design, engineering, and construction of sidewalk infill, streetlights, curb ramps, and traffic signals. Wide-away sidewalks, design, engineering of complete street components such as sidewalks, roadway drainage, ADA curb ramps, and streetlights. Gibson Ranch ADA improvements, so this is additional funding for installation of ADA improvements at Gibson Ranch Regional Park. This includes picnic areas, drinking fountains, parking areas, restrooms, and playgrounds. And then Walnut Grove ADA restroom, additional funds to finish construction of the Walnut Grove ADA restroom. And finally, Rosemont area streetlights, which is design and construction of new streetlights in the Rosemont area. In addition to the infrastructure projects, the other two main categories we fund in the action plan are housing and public services. And for those programs, we propose to continue funding our ongoing programs, which also continue to meet the goals of the new consolidated plan. For CDBG, these programs include Meals on Wheels, homeless shelter activities, the home repair programs, affordable housing rehab, and fair housing activities. For ESG, we fund rapid rehousing and shelters. For home, we fund new construction and rehab of multifamily housing. And for HOPWA, we fund housing assistance, operations, case management, and multifamily housing acquisition and construction. So that concludes my presentation. We're asking you to approve both the 2025 to 2029 consolidated plan and the 2025 one-year action plans for the city and the county. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you, and thank you for that overview. Just two kind of more general questions. You had mentioned about some of the funds were reprogramming. Does that mean that it's just funds that weren't spent in the last year, so they get sort of carried over?
Yeah, so it's either projects that were completed under budget, so we're reprogramming those funds, or as you see, we put money into capital reserve each year, and so if those funds aren't needed, we'll reprogram those to use in future projects.
So it isn't like a use it or lose it kind of situation. You can have some carryover.
Yeah.
And then on the particular projects, city and county level, very specific projects, and I see they note the districts. Is that kind of driven by, like, each council member, each supervisor sort of nominates a project, or like what's the actual process for how those ultimately got selected?
Yes, so we work with both city and county, the departments, to get project ideas. They usually have them already prioritized. But we also do get feedback from city council and board of supervisors as well. So we do take all that into account and look at that. We do have criteria that we use to prioritize projects as well. If they're going to be completed in a timely manner, are they leveraging other funds, things like that. And so we look at all of that to make our determination for the projects.
But essentially the city council and supervisors each get sort of their priority list, which is most likely going to reflect every council member, every supervisor gives theirs, but then ultimately SHRA reviews and decides which the criteria, or?
Decide.
Or so they do decide, ultimately.
Yes, ultimately, this goes before the city council and the county board of supervisors. But we start the process at the beginning of the year by reaching out to the staff at the city and the county, but we held workshops with each respective board. And I think is it 2 or 3?
We did 2 this year.
We do 2 workshops. So we'll go before each of those political bodies and say, it's time for us to start thinking about, the action plan of our projects. And then that is the opportunity for them to say, I would like you to look into X, Y, or Z. And then obviously there is discussions about other projects, if they're eligible projects, if it's in an eligible area. But there is a lot of opportunity for feedback from the electeds in those workshops. And that's the way why we designed it that way, so that they would have a chance to just, talk to us as well as staff about what the priorities that they see within their neighborhood.
So the SHRA's role is more just to make sure it's eligible under the rules and things like that.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's up to the respective body to decide.
Yeah, after this, we take it to city council and board of supervisors.
So remember, the public wanting a particular thing to get on this list would need to be like, hey, council member, hey, supervisor, how can you advocate for this during that time period or whatever?
Or they could come here, be to the commission meeting, because we've had those workshops.
Yeah.
But ultimately, those bodies decide.
Yes, they.
Commissioner Sampson?
Just to clarify on that, is that an annual process? You're talking about the annual plan, not necessarily.
No,
You're talking about that process of getting the projects
It's annual.
is annual, yeah, okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
every year we go through the same process.
Thank you.
Commissioner Manfor?
So for clarity and based on what Commissioner Ramos just said, in regards to the constituents being able to actually come on board to submit requests for a lot of these projects to be done within their community. I believe of probably like a year ago when I asked something very similar to this, and I was told that it would come from the elected officials. And when I spoke to elected officials, they stated that they already had their plans, and I asked if they reached out to the constituents, and they basically said kind of no. And then when I spoke to the constituents, they shared their concerns as far as why isn't this being done? Why isn't this being done? And I brought it up to an elected official, and they still didn't do it. So I just wanted to be clear that now that we have an opportunity to have constituents who actually come up here to make some of those recommendations, I just want to make sure that it's clear so that they're not jumping or going behind their elected officials back to make certain recommendations. But I want to know exactly what the process would be so that they have an opportunity to be able to share their concerns and recommendations for some of these projects that are happening within the community.
Maybe I can chime in here unless you want to. We receive project ideas from a multitude of places, I guess I would say. But we do find the electeds are very aware of what's going on in their district. But I think the thing that really I wanted to emphasize is that there are only certain geographic areas that are eligible, and then within those areas, only certain activities. So it does really, limit itself in what we can do and what we can't do. So often, someone might come up with an idea, and we'll just say, I'm sorry, that's not an eligible geographic area, it's not a low mod area, or that's not a CPG eligible activity. So, oftentimes what we'd love to do just about everything, and it's pretty limited, as you saw for the infrastructure projects, we're only talking, $1 million or $2 million on average a year. So that's why we do work with the electeds, but also their staff and others that brings project ideas. Stephanie?
No, that pretty much covered it. We hold several workshops throughout the year, and then we do also have a public comment period, so there is always opportunity for people to comment outside of through the electeds as well.
But public comment would come after those decisions have been made as far as projects have been decided, or it's still open for it?
They can reach out at any time.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that constituents have an option to actually be able to make recommendation from this board in regards to some of this project compared to actually going directly to their elected representative to go through that process, because it's shown as if like there are more avenues compared to just that standard process.
Yeah, we were before this commission at least 2 other times this year asking for project ideas, and we will be back, I promise. This is our 3rd time, or 4th if you counted last meeting. But that last meeting, we weren't really asking for project ideas, we were just going to consolidate plan. But next year, we will be back at least 2 times before we come forward with the final projects. So we welcome any project ideas you have at that time, and others that might come.
And will people within the district be notified of these projects coming up so that they can at least come into make some recommendations and see something not in their head? So for example, you said that we're gonna be doing this next year and so forth, right? How will they be notified that this is the time that they can actually come in to submit some of the project recommendations, Will there be a blast announcement to let them know that?
No, there will not be. We do put things in the paper when we advertise when funding's available, but we won't be putting out to every single resident of the city of Sacramento or the county of Sacramento.
Okay.
Brief follow-up to that. In the world of transportation, right, there's how much you can fund, and then there's all the stuff that's still waiting in the pipeline. Do you follow somewhat of a similar model? If one of these projects, for example, fell out, you've got the next one in line kind of ready to go, sort of pre-established? How does your pipeline work?
We do prioritize, when we're working with staff, we do prioritize projects, and we always get usually a longer list than we can actually fund. So there's always backup projects if one, for some reason, falls out, that we can look at.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes, thank you. My comment had to do with, kind of going with both of the commissioners' comments. So if they were to come here, the citizen, and make a comment or recommendation, what happens with that recommendation? If it's, what I'm hearing though, it seems like it comes from the county supervisor or the city council person. Do those recommendations get conveyed to those individuals and their staff to say, here's some of the citizen comments that we're hearing for recommendations, or do they just get lost?
Yeah, we would relay if there were any additional comments or project ideas that came from someone outside of the elected officials. We would relay those projects to the elected officials after we reviewed them eligibility.
Okay. That's
If I
good.
could just add one more thing, I just want to make sure we're clear. A lot of the projects we're doing now are like designing, the community is asking for restrooms, for example, and I think two of the parks that Stephanie talked about. That is the community raising that up to city staff, city electeds, they want restrooms in the parks. Restrooms are really expensive. They're really expensive. And CDBG on its own in either city or county is not going to, it would probably take us several years just to do one restroom. So we have to leverage other funds. That's why we work really closely with city and county staff. There's like, yeah, well, if you pay for the design, we think we can apply for this grant over here once it's assigned for the construction. And so there's a lot of collaboration that way. So we're trying to leverage other funds.
Well, that's good to know because, yeah, I know CDBG in particular is not a lot of funds to do much with that, and the things are important. So I'm glad there's continued support for Meals on Wheels because that's really important. So people need to eat, and seniors and others would need that, so that's great. The Watt Avenue, North Watt Avenue area, pedestrian improvement, those are good, in my opinion. And I kind of like the pickleball, and that's getting really popular. I don't know how people set up their own pickleball. I didn't see it was as a designated one, but the sport court is really good. And pickleball, I might start taking up that sport one day, see what that's like. I'm also glad on the Robla Park restroom idea. I work with, not only I mentioned, of course, North Watt Avenue, but we're out in Robla Park, and they really have high hopes that they have a 20-year plan. And I've encouraged them to come out and come to the SHRA meeting and really voice that. I know people have done that. I don't think it's exactly here, but nonetheless, they're hoping that to get a little bit more attention for a park that seems to not get as much as they would like. So anyway, I just wanted to put that in. I think they'll be excited. At least they got the design coming. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos?
I just a quick follow-up question. Someone had mentioned that it's only limited to certain geographic areas. Where could we see a map of that, just to know sort of?
We could provide you with maps, but yeah, so there's different ways that CDBG projects can qualify, and one of them is by area, and it has to be a low lot area, and we have maps.
All right, any other commissioner questions or comments? All right, then I will open up this public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
Yes, we have Nikisha Barthel.
So I would like to see Black African American women added to the special, what is that, the special population that's listed in the consolidated plan. I was reading over the plan and it states that I guess there was some type of report done on the people who are most in need and the population that's close and on the verge of being homeless. I guess it was a VI-SPDT report done. And in the report, it states that Black women are the ones that experience the most racism, discrimination, and systematic barriers towards access when trying to access wealth to provide a sufficient and safe net in their home to prevent homelessness. So I would also like to comment on that I have been on with this program for over 10 years and I want out. And there's no programs out there for me to buy a house. Like I have a stable job, I have a business, I have a nonprofit, but nonprofit doesn't really make too much money. And when you have children to take care of, rent is expensive when you're a single parent. So this program really helps me take care of my bills, but there's no programs there to buy a home. And I was told that there was a program that could help you with monthly stipends when you purchase a home, but I've never heard of it. And I would like to have some information on that. When I was also going over the consolidated plan, I came across I guess a resident advisory board. I've never heard of them before. Like I said, I've been on this program for over 10 years. I've been down to the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency office several times and nothing is posted about this board to find out anything. And I don't know what they're there for. If they're labeled as a resident advisory board, is it for HCV or is it just for public housing? I think that they should be out there, maybe on the portal, on the website, and out there for people like myself to be engaged with them and participate in surveys. Also, as I was reading over the report, it mentioned the Sacramento Region Housing and Community Needs Survey. I was never informed of a survey. I would love to take a survey to talk about the needs. Like I said, I've been in Sacramento for 20 years and I've been on this program for a long time. I still have needs and that are not being met. So I don't know how that survey was distributed to the community and when it was distributed to the community, and when's the next survey coming out, because I have some needs that was not addressed in there.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Not.
All right, then we will close the public hearing. Can I ask for a motion to adopt the resolution? So moved. Moved by Commissioner Wu, seconded by Commissioner Ross. If there are no objections, we'll pass the motion to adopt the resolution. Hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously. So we will now move on to presentations. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title of item number 5?
Budget update for the Development Department.
And there will be a presentation from staff.
All right, that'd be me. Christine Weichert with the Development Department, Director. So I think I am the last presentation, department presentation you have before you approve the agency budget, maybe next meeting, I think. So I'm just going to go over the Development Department, our accomplishments for 2024, and some of our focuses and goals for 25. So the Development Department is a small but mighty department here at SHRA. We make up about a little less than 2% of the agency's staffing budget. Yeah, over there it is. So, but we do have several functions that are included in our department. The one that you see most often, us here explaining and asking for recommendations are our financing of affordable housing, primarily multifamily affordable housing. However, there are single-family programs, which I'll discuss. Also, after we do that financing, I'll go over the different other activities such as compliance monitoring, portfolio management. Asset management is managing our nonprofit assets. And then in addition to that, we also, of course, do housing policy implementation for both the city and county of Sacramento, including an affordable housing plan that we put together last year. I think Stephanie just did a good job of overviewing giving an overview of our federal programs. And of course, Mirasol Village is in the department, which I'll go over as well. Over here. So for the housing finance functions, and I think we have Whitney here. Whitney is the program manager over all these activities I'm about to go over. So in 2024, we committed over $31 million in multifamily loans. We also issued over $114 million of mortgage revenue bonds to finance, I think, 4 projects that you see there. The financing we use for these projects are home funds, which are federal. Stephanie just reviewed those. And of course, we receive the home funds for both the city and the county, and they can be used for new construction or rehabilitation of affordable housing. We also have local funds. The Housing Trust Fund is a fee on commercial development in both the city and county. The mixed income and the affordable housing ordinances, the city and county, are actually fees in the fees on residential development. And lastly, we receive the permanent local housing allocation, which is a fee on real estate transactions here in Sacramento County and city, and a portion of those are collected by the state and given to us. But all of those funding sources go into our financing. So you can see next year, we think we're anticipating about $14 million in the county and about $8.3 million in the city. I say anticipate because especially the local funds, the fees on development, it really is driven by how much development there is in the counties and the city. So if there's a lot of development going on, then we receive more resources. And at the bottom, you can see the many ordinances that we administer for the city and the county, including a single room occupancy ordinance that we come forward to you on every year. And we do density bonus agreements for the city and county, help with housing elements. I mentioned the affordable housing plan. All of these things we do to further affordable housing in the city and county. So in 2024, we completed over, to date, we've completed over 724 affordable housing units they've been constructed. There's a few more that we're going to complete this year. I think those top 3 on the list of under construction are going to be completed this calendar year, but they're not quite there yet. But then you can see we have over 1,000 units, 1,100 units under construction right now, affordable housing. And we've brought all these projects to you. In the pipeline right now that are financed, over 582 projects that are about to be under construction. Madison Square, the one studios at the top, is a home key project that I actually think construction is going to start next week, I hope, in Beach Hill in November. So a program that we've brought a lot of projects to you in recent years are the home key projects. Of course, this was established during COVID. It was the state of California's way of getting money out quickly to create homeless housing. They've had 3 different rounds of funding to date, and we've been successful in receiving funds for 6 projects. The projects, as most of you remember, have to be completed within 12 months of award. So that's very, very quick, which is why the 6 projects we've done to date have been motel conversions. There are 3 complete and 3 under construction. So Home Key, the 3 rounds, that version of Home Key has sunset. So in 2025, however, we all voted for Prop 1, or voted last November, right? Prop 1 was on the ballot last November. And they're going to use those funds for what they're calling Home Key Plus. And Home Key Plus is being what we know of it now. It should come out, the NOFA should come out in November. It is a little different than the original Home Key, but not too different. But there is a much greater focus on behavioral health and mental health residents in this program. About half of the $2 billion that are coming out, and it says million, but that should say billion, I'm so sorry. Little over $1 billion is gonna go for vets with mental health issues, and another $1 billion will go to permanent supportive housing for those with health needs. So again, we anticipate the program will still have a very short time frame of maybe 12 months after award for completion and occupancy. So I wouldn't be surprised if the projects you see also are more along in the line of converting hotels and things like that. But if the NOFA does come out in November, we expect the applications are probably going to be due in January. So we would be back before the January with some project ideas and recommendations. Homeownership, that's also something that we work very hard on. We don't have the resources that we wish we had, but the PLHA, or Permanent Local Housing allocation, does require us to set aside about 20% of those funds for down payment assistance. And then we have some Cal Home funds, which are through the Department of Housing and Community Development. That's about $5 million. So we do have those funds available for down payment assistance right now. We've only done 5 this year because we just received the funding for this, but hope to do more in the future. If you are income qualified, so if you're making 80% or less of area median income, and so for a family of 4, that's like $94,000 right now. You're eligible for up to $50,000 in down payment assistance. So if you know anyone's interested, please, it's on our website. Very excited because we did have a grand opening for I think all 18 Habitat homes at Cornerstone have now been completed, and I think most of them are occupied. All of them? Yeah. And then 10 more in Oak Park that I know 5 are complete, and I think the other 5 are not complete. So really successful projects with Habitat that's come before your commission. There we go. So all of these loans and other funded projects that come before you, of course, have to be monitored and for compliance. And so that's staff that you don't see often, but they do very important work. You know, we have a portfolio of over $533 million in loans. We audit, we go out to every single multifamily development at least annually. We do site inspections, unit inspections, check the tenant files to make sure they're not, paying more than rent than they should. We do all of that, a lot of tenant file inspections. We also monitor the single family homes that we've made investments in, down payment assistance, for example, to make sure they're still owner occupied. And of course, we spend a lot of time looking at resident services. When we finance a project, we want to make sure that the residents are getting the case management and the resident services that they should be. We look at audited financial statements. We have to put reports into the state for SIDLAC. So we just do a whole multitude of monitoring and compliance as well. So this is Victoria Johnson, who's the assistant director that sort of oversees the slides. Victoria's here, and I know she's speaking later, but you know that we've spent quite a bit of time and energy trying to convert and finance our public housing and rehab it by using the RAD program and other programs like Mirasol Village. Well, they end up in our nonprofit entities, as you know, SHRA. So this is just a list of all the projects now. They're units that are under SHRA. We have 2 other nonprofit entities, one that owns Shasta Hotel Corporation, and then the Norwood Housing Corporation. So these are all the units and projects that we oversee in our department that are part of the nonprofit entities. And of course, Mirasol Village. Our presentation would not be complete without talking about Mirasol Village. There's some great photos that Victoria's put on here. So in 2024, we fully leased 3 of the phases of Mirasol Village. The 4th is under construction. The early childhood education center is under construction. This is all great. The light rail station is about to break ground any minute now. I think Victoria is going to talk to you about some of our community projects that are ongoing next, including the Farm to Fork program. And then next year, we should have the last phase leased up. And same with the Childhood Education Center, we should have that occupied. And we really hope that the construction will be really in full gear for the light rail station. Victoria, I'm not sure, sorry, Stephanie oversees these projects. Stephanie's a program manager, just saw. And I think she went through a lot of these projects just now, so I'm not sure there's a need to go through them again. But again, these are all the programs in 2024 that we invested public dollars in and entered into all the contracts and monitored and made sure were happening. A lot of work goes into federal programs, as I'm sure you all know, so that staff does a lot of reporting to HUD, communication with HUD on almost a weekly basis to make sure that all these things are on track. And then next year, again, Stephanie just went through all of these, but you can see once again what we anticipate to get in federal dollars in the various different sources that we receive and that are under the Consolidated Plan and Action Plan. So this is the staff that does all this work in development. They do a great job, and we couldn't do it without them. And just want to thank those who are present and those that aren't. We appreciate them very much, and we appreciate you. And that is my presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Christine. Commissioner Jansen.
On the HomeKey, thank you. On the HomeKey Plus program forthcoming, why is there a 6-month window on the construction? Is that designed to sort of force the redevelopment idea here of motels? And second, when they impose, when they have the mental health component, how is that different than what we're doing? Do we know there's a definition all of a sudden, right? Versus just saying wraparound services and social services. Now we're saying mental health. So does that exclude something? How does that impact? How do you think it's going to impact? I suppose that's not fully defined yet. But.
Yeah, well, your first question was like the 12 months, and that's deceiving because you think you have 12 months from when you receive the funds, when the state gives you the funds. And usually these projects, we receive about $20 million in HomeKey project, but the SHRA has probably put in almost $10 million as well in all those projects you saw. You'd think that when we got the $20 million from the state, that's when the clock would start. That's not when the clock starts. The clock starts probably 2 to 3 months earlier when they say, oh, you have the award, we'll get you the money soon. So you know, so it's like 9 months actually construction. I think when HomeKey came out, it was during COVID, and there really was a huge need to get people indoors, right, and isolated. And so the state thought that the 12-month time frame would be a great way to go. And I think a lot of jurisdictions did that. We did. And so when they thought, well, if you give locals a really short time frame and they make it, more people we can actually get housed. So they had just sort of kept going with that. You know, most of the early ones were statewide motel conversions. Now some folks are doing modular, things like that, things that you might be able to do faster, not necessarily cheaper, but faster. But it is hard to do a new construction from the ground up in that time frame. As far as, and I'm sure Lachelle can weigh in here as well, but here in Sacramento, when we did our HomeKey projects, like we do all of our permanent supportive housing projects, we pay great attention to resident services and property management and making sure most of our projects have housing choice vouchers, project-based vouchers for rental assistance. But we really make sure that there's enough funding up front. Maybe that's capitalized in an account that has to be drawn over time in addition to rental assistance payments, but that we are making sure that really, the folks that are living there, if they're homeless and have, which many of them do, have some mental health issues, they're getting those services. And we work with the county. I think the county has participated in just about all of our projects to date. So making sure they have those resident services. So these folks have mental health issues, but they're getting help. But that is not true necessarily statewide. I think SHRA was a bit unusual that way.
Christine, you're right. I think the wonderful advantage we've had in terms of, working with both the city and the county is that the county has participated in those home feed projects with MHSA funding, even outside of the unincorporated county within the city limits. So it really has been a great partnership, and it has allowed us to access funds as well as the needed services for those individuals. So it's been really great.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Commissioner Ross.
Yes. My comment has to do with outreach and recruitment. You mentioned the housing program and the idea that people who are 80% LMI can be eligible for that. There's not a lot of money for marketing. How is that information? You said you could go onto the website. Is that the only way that people find out about it within the programs? How do people know about that? Because I know the lady who had been presenting here earlier was saying that she was looking for housing. So I was just, maybe somebody might want to reach out to her. But in general, I'm just curious how that's done. Is there like high demand where there's usually like a waiting list for it? Or at some times are we struggling to get people to get involved?
So, it's for down payment assistance.
Yeah, down payment assistance.
And so we do put it on our website. We do put out in listservs and things like that, say it's open. We also have pre-approved, you have to apply to be a real estate broker that can work with this program. So often they'll have clients, they know the program, right? They're pre-qualified to be the realtor for this program through us. So they'll have clients they know that are looking for a home that are income eligible, and so they'll let their clients know about it. We, in the past, have attended the Realtors Association meetings. I think they happen monthly to advertise the programs. We find it really depends as, you still have to be qualified to be a home buyer. So you still have to have a good credit rating. You still have to find a home that you can make the mortgage payments for. And as home prices have increased, even the down payment assistance has made it difficult for them to be qualified to be a home. So it's kind of a matchmaking process. You got to find the home that you can make the mortgage payments on and that you're qualified for, even with the down payment assistance. So,
Is there, I guess thank you for that. Is there an over demand for it or an under demand for this type of program?
if you had asked me 10 years ago, I would say it was over demand. We don't have enough money. We have way more applications than we can keep up on. Today, with the price of homes in Sacramento County, it is harder for people to find that home and to use the funds. That's why we've only done 5 this year.
Okay, that answers my question. I was just curious. Okay. Usually there's a demand. Okay, but not right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Manford?
Just a final comment, my comment. I had an option to actually go to the website to find it, and I was able to find it, so it's really accessible. And you did answer one of the questions that I want to ask in regards to it being comparable to the fair market value of the houses right now, because I know it's very expensive. So thank you. So that's basically all I needed to continue. Thank you.
Are there any public comments on this item?
There are not.
Okay. Move on to item number 6. Would you please read the title of that?
Marisol Village Resident Farm to Fork Presentation.
All right, a presentation from staff.
Good evening, Commissioner. I'm Victoria Johnson with the Development Department. And at Marisol Village, in addition to the extraordinarily beautiful housing, park, garden, early childhood education center, bike lanes, etc., we have a really robust resident services program. That program is administered by a nonprofit called Urban Strategies. And with us this evening is Rodney Flakes, who is the manager of the Resident Services Program at Marisol Village, and he's going to tell you a little bit about a very special program, Farm to Fork. I hope I didn't plagiarize the Sacramento phrasing there. The Farm to Fork is something we are extremely proud of region-wide, and we have a Marisol Village version.
Is there a way that we can connect?
Oh, you have a presentation?
Yes.
Ooh.
Slide.
No? We're sorry, we have to get it up ahead. Okay. Okay, so we're talking. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Rodney. I'm the project manager for Urban Strategy here in Sacramento. We do resident services at Marisol Village. So we do many things at Marisol Village. We help the residents with education, workforce development, health and wellness, and housing stability. So this summer, we received a grant through the city of Sacramento, and we started a USI Career Academy. We work with over 30 youth throughout Sacramento, as well as Marisol Village. And we created a career academy at Marisol Village that we worked with our partners and people throughout Sacramento. A couple other things that we do, we have a bike program that we work closely with the Housing Authority, where residents want to come in and loan a bike out. We loan out bicycles, as well as we issue Transit Connect cards to every resident there at Marisol Village. But before I get into our program, we ran BUFA. BUFA is the Black Urban Farmers Association in Stockton. So we went out to Stockton all summer long, every Monday and Tuesday, and then they learned how to harvest, careers. They learned everything with BUFA in Stockton. And then on Wednesdays, they came back to Marisol Village, and they worked with our amazing chef Dave, who's in the back. So they was able to prepare the food that they harvested on Tuesdays. And then if we have the slideshow, we can see the slideshow. But also we have a young man here that's going to talk about his experience with our USI Career Academy and his experiences. So I'm gonna bring up Brian right now.
Could you say what USI means?
USI is Urban Strategies. Urban Strategies, and we're based out of St. Louis. We're in over 40 cities and 22 states throughout the country. And we're in the US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and we're the leaders in redevelopment and housing stability for low-income folks throughout the country. So I have Brian come up here and talk about his experiences with
While
our
Brian
Career
is
Academy.
coming forward too, just in terms of context, when we applied for the Choice Neighborhoods Initiative, the C&I grant, we brought in a developer, and one of the key components is not only a developer, but also an entity that's really gonna focus on the residents. And so Urban Strategies is a part of that kind of development entity in terms of how we were able to really approach the redevelopment. But I will turn it over to you.
Hello, kind of nervous. It's my first time being in an area like this. As you can see, I'm not very prepared. But
You're fine.
my experience with Urban Strategies was very well. We got to do a whole bunch of things over the summer. I was with MBK, and we got to work with a lot of the kids over the summer, and it was teaching me a whole bunch of skills that had to do with patience, that had to do with just, treating other people how I be treated, and how it is to, deal with, children, because everybody, all of us kids around here in Marisol have, little siblings, and sometimes it can get overwhelming, or sometimes it can get stressful, and that kind of, brought us together, sat us down in one spot, kind of showed us as the older brothers, the younger people of this community, how to take care of the littler ones, the ones that are the future of our community, and we got to do DLA, which was also an amazing thing with AES, and it was, I missed the first 2 days, and we, but for the days I was there, they accepted me, with open arms, I was there the first day, or if I was there the whole time. And it was a very good experience. We got to learn a whole bunch of career skills and how to, keep our money financially stable, and, have us writing down the things that we, dreamed about doing, no matter how far-fetched they are. And it was just an amazing experience, this whole thing, this whole summer. It was just a very pleasing experience, and it gave me a whole bunch of career and life skills that I don't think I would have had if I waited to join, or if I didn't have joined this organization or this thing that we have going on.
Also part of our food program that we have, so a lot of the food that we was harvesting in Stockton with the Black Urban Farmers Association, so it was prepared by our cooking program. We have a Marisol Village Fresh Meals program within the community. So we are able to provide affordable meals through programs, and I'm gonna have Brittany come up here and tell you about that.
Hello, I'm Brittany. I'm a resident at Marisol, and I'm actually a returning resident from Dos Rios. So this is a double plus for me to be a part of any program that we create here at Marisol. So we have the food program. In the food program, we meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. And what we meet and create is what we went in the community and gathered information of what people need, what food needs, and just hearing the needs of the community. So what we do, we come together on Mondays and Wednesdays, create a meal, create the outlet of what people are wanting in the food areas and what they don't have at home or what they don't have access to. And then the chefs come in on Thursday and they prepare it. And we take orders, and people are able to come in on Friday and come pick up their pre-orders. And we design such like a cafe area just for our Marisol residents to come in, and they can get affordable food. And I accept all payments to them, such as food stamps, stuff like that, but it's for our residents to be able to come and get food that they can't afford at a Denny's or a Red Lobster, because we do bust down and we'll have steak, we'll have prime rib, and it's affordable. It could be $7 to $10, but it's an experience that our residents don't get to have on a regular basis. And so that's pretty much it. So Fridays, come check us out. Thank you.
As Brittany talked about, is part of our workforce development program. So the program has been running for over a year now, and we're really happy about that. So now they've moved into the different phase of our workforce development program with our Marisol Village Cafe experience. Now, some of you in here have come and participated with the Marisol Village Cafe experience, and everything that we do there goes back into the program. And I'm very happy to say the program is resident-led and resident-ran. So residents will be getting trained on that so they can succeed their economic mobility. And then, so it is a workforce development program. So if you all want to come out and experience our cafe experience on Fridays, it's from 10 to 1. And or you can talk to your people that has been here, has been to our cafe already. And then we would love to host you and have you out. So that is it for me.
So I'd like to give a testimonial.
Okay.
So I've had an opportunity to go out to the cafe. It was a Fish Fridays, and I tell you, oh my goodness, it was so delicious. We had fish, they had garlic fries, we had fresh hush puppies. I want some more of those hush puppies. But it was just absolutely incredible, so well seasoned. I mean, I could go on and on. I could be like a Yelp, which I didn't think about Yelping, you guys. But yeah, they did an absolutely fantastic job, and we had a chance to come in and sit at the cafe and have the whole experience. And our service came out quick, and it was all hot and fresh. And we are going to be going back. And I would encourage anybody who has the time as well to check them out on Fridays. They do an excellent job.
Thank you.
5 stars.
Oh, thank you.
And I also, I'm gonna jump up, and I also want to support them. That we went out on a Friday and I took staff out and we had Philly steaks, and they were great. People are still raving about how great they were. So really good job.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Brian and Brittany, for sharing your experience with the program and just for giving us a little insight into, all that is happening there at Marisol Village and the cafe and what you're learning and your takeaways from it. So I really appreciate that. Commissioner Ross, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, a lot of it. I'm putting down in my calendar because I want to come. How do we do that?
You just show up at Marisol in our community center on
Do
Fridays.
we just bring our cash or?
Cash card, I take it all.
Okay, all right. No, that's exciting.
Right.
Because it really is, because when we're just talking about workforce development and skills and producing good food, I mean, that's contagious in a positive way, right? That's gonna move on to skills and other kinds of things. So as a commissioner, so SHRA and urban strategies, and of course you, the residents and the chefs, I'm excited for you. And that's the kind of stuff we all need to hear.
Thank you.
Because now I'm moving to the important part, because a lot of the issues that we're dealing with in our communities has to do with access. So I want to start with you, young man. I don't know your name, so.
My name is Brian.
Brian?
Brian.
Brian, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Brian. But access. So you coming here and participating in a summer program, this is where we all get started. This is where we realize what kind of adjustments that need to be made. I always tell people, this is back in the day, because I was a little bit of a pop locker, hip hop star, but you might not tell, but I play some beats and we'll see what you got, right? I'm gonna do it. But when I was in college though, even though I was doing well in school, coming from high school to college, but you know, I would have my voicemail, and this is how I was interpreting it. It was like, hey, on the back beat, what's up, man? This is Martin. Glad to hear from you. Leave a message at the beat, hit you back. Something like that. One of my mentors gave me a call and said, Ross. I said, yes, sir. He said, get that off your voicemail. I said, well, what's up? He said, that's not professional. I didn't know. It's a matter of access. So don't worry about how you come. It's more about where you're going. And so when you just to get to be a bug, a fly on the wall, you get to see what's happening, that inspires you to make whatever those adjustments that you can get better and be better, because your attitude and your aptitude, is going to determine your unlimited altitude. So I'm excited that you're here and that you got those experiences and you get to see some of us, and we all start there, right where you're at. All right? So I wanted to just tell you that, and then Black Urban Farmers, I know about them, so that's fantastic, learning from them. MBK, My Brother's Keeper, I know about that. You're off to a good track. You just follow what they're telling you to do. That's what happened to me. And, from programs like MESA, Mathematics, Engineering, Science Achievement, Upward Bound, all those, I just showed up. I didn't know I was going on to play pro basketball, right? Didn't happen, but that's what I was thinking was going to happen. But I have a video that's awesome. I still got my ball with it. I still have my dreams. When I get to heaven, it's probably going to be a court up there, but maybe they'll let me play. But anyway, but that was my goal, but it didn't happen. But because I got exposure and access to other things, I'm sitting in this chair right now, and you could be in this chair right now, or wherever you want to go and be. So that's for all of you. So I'm just excited about that. I think. I'm gonna leave it there. Keep doing what you're doing, and great job. Because it takes a village. It's all of us coming together, not in a silo, but when we partner with those kinds of approaches, amazing things can happen. We just got to give people access. So thank you.
Commissioner Manford?
My comment's gonna be really quick. Just want to commend Brian. Commend you for coming up and sharing your story. It's wonderful to see young men actually come up, men or women, but young men, someone young to come up and actually share their stories. It just resonate with me, having kids myself. One thing I always say to those who actually come up here is that please, the people that you see here, network and connect with them. Because they will be able to support you as you grow. You seem like a very bright person. You have a good head on your shoulders. So keep up the good work. And I'm wishing best of luck to you as you continue to grow within the community. And it seems like this is an example as far as what's going on in Marisol Village. So it's great to hear. So just keep it up. And if you need any assistance from any of us, please feel free to reach out to us. And as far as the meal, I'll be there on Friday.
All right.
That's it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? All right. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Did you have something, Ned?
Our meal team prepared little snacks for people. Everyone back there. So feel free to go there.
What you taste is worth 1,000 words.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the executive director's report.
Very quick. Our next commission meeting is scheduled for October 16th, and then also save the date, November 6th. We'll have our bus tour of SHRA properties from 3 to 5, so we're finalizing all of those stops, and that's all I have.
I don't have a commissioner's report, or chair report. Do you have any commissioner reports?
Just a quick comment, being new to the commission, appreciate everybody welcoming me over the last couple of weeks. I did have a chance to spend some time with Mark Hamilton on the RAD program. That was my big takeaway from that meeting, was I got to know something about this RAD thing. Thank you to Mark, he was very helpful. Appreciate the tours, and I just wanted a little shout out. Look forward to meeting some more people at the agency as well in the future.
One comment, so one's a question. The tour is from when to when again?
It's on November 6th from 3 to 5.
Oh, right, it's during our commission time.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a little bit earlier than you normally come, but the same day.
Got it. Okay, actually, I do have it. I was making sure I didn't have it. Thank you. I just wanted to say out at October 5th is coming Saturday at Rolla Park. There's going to be a walk for health, and it's going to be totally free. There's going to be jobs out there, vendors, exercise, food distributions. It's going to be from 9 to 12 p.m. You can go to the Health Education Council website, so www.healthedcouncil.org. So it's totally free to the community. If SHRA or anybody wants to table urban strategies, you're welcome to do that. But last time we reported, I don't know if it's going to have that huge of a turnout for all the jobs, but there's definitely going to be job vendors, people who've been formerly incarcerated, resources, those types of deals, so come on out. Last time we did it at the Workforce Development Symposium and Job and Health Fair that we had, 500, 400, 500 folks came. I think I may have reported out on that, 150 for the symposium. So anyway, those are some resources that I think the community might want to know about. And Rolla Park, free to the community. You got a 10K, a 1K power walk, and a 5K, excuse me, a 1K run to go along with that too. So doing good in the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's no other business, so I will adjourn this meeting.
Do not leave without